Oh, thought I was recording all this time.
Regina. My name is Peter McCarra Jr., and in the year of our Lord 1912, I was the mayor of this booming town. And we were booming. Our population had grown from 6,000 to 30,000 people in just 5 years. Our downtown was booming, and Victoria Park was considered a jewel in the heart of our city. The Parliament buildings on Wascana Lake was nearing completion, and many of our major buildings and churches were newly built, shining examples of architectural splendor. Some had only opened in the previous few months. Oh, we were the talk of the country back then, prosperous and growing. On that fated day, June 30th, 1912, we were suffering a hot day like this one. The city was decked out for our Dominion Day celebration. Our city was decked out in our Dominion Day celebration for July 1st, looking very much like this, with ribbons and the bunting. Now, I had been showing off our city to the superintendent of the Grand Trunk Railroad that day, proud to show him all of the amenities of Regina, our brand new streetcars, our lake, our business district, when that terrible tornado hit our city with a vengeance unlike anything our country had seen or has seen to this day. The noise of that horrible wind is one that I shall never forget. Like a train bearing down upon us, the storm laid wreck to many of our finest buildings, taking lives and injuring hundreds. Scores of homes were demolished completely. Many of our businesses were destroyed in minutes. But our city did not die. Like a phoenix, we rose from the ashes. The spirit of our community shone through. Neighbors reached out. People gave everything they could to restore our town. Now, I could tell you hundreds of stories of the people who played a role in rescuing those injured, clearing away the enormous piles of debris that were left where mighty buildings had once stood. Those brave men and women who restored our electricity, our telephone services, our civic functions and services. As the mayor of Regina, I was at the helm of those rescue efforts. But I did not act alone. Hundreds of our gallant citizens sprang into action the moment the wind ceased its terrible roar. Not just men, but the brave boys of the Boy Scouts were there that day, as they are here today. With our telephone lines down, all communication had ceased. Those brave young scouts scattered across the path of destruction and blowing their whistles became our line of communication, notifying us of the injured buried under the rubble, assisting in the rescue of hundreds of injured souls, and in the discovery of those who did not survive the storm's terrible wrath. We lost 28 lives that day, and a few more souls who succumbed to their injuries in the weeks and months that followed. Today, we remember those lives lost now with the tolling of the bells of the church you now call the Knox Metropolitan. In my day, it was the Metropolitan Methodist, and it was hard hit by the tornado. It was by the grace of God that there were no lives lost in that building. Only a few hours before the storm, a class of Sunday school children had been in that building. We were told that a dozen or more people were buried in those ruins, and I and a handful of men moved every brick from the rubble until we were certain that none were left inside. But the losses we suffered were enough. These, then, are the names of the citizens we lost 100 years ago to this date. George Appleby, much-loved scoutmaster and a good friend to me. Bertha Blenkhorn, a newlywed, recently moved here from England. Frank Blenkhorn, her young husband who had missed his passage on the Titanic. Andrew Boyd, retired farmer. Iwi Boyan, an employee at the Chinese laundry at Smith in 13th. Joseph J. Bryan, manager of a farm equipment warehouse. James Patrick Coffey, recently moved here from Ireland. George P. Craven, killed by a flying boxcar. Arthur Donaldson, whose dog kept vigil for 4 days at the funeral home. Robert Fenwick, employed by the Mulligan Livery Stable 2 blocks north of here. Ed Margaret Guthrie, a young woman engaged to be married. Mrs. R.W. Harris, who roomed in the Guthrie home. Fred Hinson, a recent graduate, home to work for the summer. Lawrence Hodsman, the teenaged oldest son of my friends, the Hodsmans. Donald Miller Logie, infant child of Harold Logie, the founder of Logie's Shoes. Laura MacDonald, a young mother killed in her own backyard. James McDougall, the father of 8 young children. Ida McDougall, his 2-year-old daughter. Barbara McDougall, his 8-year-old daughter who passed from her injuries 6 months later. Mrs. Paul McElmoyle, who left behind 3 young children. Isabel McKay, a young mother. Charles McKay, her 3-year-old son. Andrew Roy, a visitor from the province of Quebec. Young Anna Robertson, a 5-year-old child who passed away on July 25th. Charlie Sand, employee of a Chinese laundry located a half-block north on Cornwall. James Milton Scott, a young clerk working in the Customs Department at the Donahue Building. Mary Shaw, killed while walking home through Victoria Park. Vincent Smith, the former mayor of the town of Balgony. Philip Steele, a young lad who had been canoeing on Wascana Lake. Yi Wing, also killed at the Chinese laundry located on Cornwall behind us. Thank you for allowing me to honor their memory today with the tolling of the bells. We were reminded of these losses every day with the multitude of funerals and memorial services in the weeks following the storm. But we were focused on rebuilding even more than we were on grieving. We were determined that Regina would be restored as the Queen City of the Prairies, and we did it. Within 24 hours of this storm, we had organized a small army of men to organize the debris and begin the rebuilding. We had a mountain of debris that stretched 4 blocks long on College Avenue. We burned what we could not salvage, but we salvaged every door, every brick, every piece of lumber that could be used. We also organized fundraisers and put out a call to every citizen to donate to our relief efforts. And people contributed. People from all across Canada and around the world sent us what they could. There was a travelling theatre company who were in Regina when the storm hit, and they stopped their tour to pitch in. This theatre company presented many benefit productions in the days following that storm, donating their profits to the relief fund. There was a young man in that company who went on to become quite a star on both stage and screen, a young Boris Karloff. My understanding is that your local theatre company has brought this story to life again, and they are presenting this story at your Performing Arts Centre in a few weeks' time. We have arranged to give you a preview performance. Please welcome the cast of Swept Off Our Feet.
Sound of kisses floating on the breeze.
Act 1
begun.
Dialogue, what would you like to spoon?
My cue. the silvery moon. I want to spoon to my honey owl croon, love's tune, honeymoon. Keep her shining in June. Your silvery beams will bring love dreams. We'll be cuddling soon by the silvery moon.
Not bad, really?
Not bad.
We maybe practice it once or twice.
Once or twice.
Alright, let's go.
Act 2, scene new.
Roses blooming all around the place.
Cast 3.
You, me, creature with a solemn-looking face.
Choir sings.
Bells ring, creature.
You are wed forevermore.
Act 2, all through.
Every night the same encore. By the light, not the dark, but the light of the silvery moon. Not the sun, but the moon. I want to spoon, let's croon. To my honey owl croon, love's tune, honeymoon. Keep her shining in June. Your silvery beams will bring love dreams. We'll be cuddling soon by the silvery moon, the silvery moon.
Thank you, that was delightful. Regina was known as a cultural destination in 1912. We had the Regina Orchestral Society back then, what you now call your symphony, as well as a number of chorus groups, writers and poets living here. It is truly fitting that the legacy of our community spirit be remembered now, 100 years later, with the installations of artistic works, sculptures and murals. Our citizens enjoyed the fine arts. You would often find someone sketching at Wascana Lake or writing poetry for a loved one. But I have taken up too much of your time today when there are other dignitaries on this stage waiting patiently while I meander down memory lane. It is an honor to have here representatives of your city council and your provincial government. In 1912, it was a loan from the provincial government that enabled us to rebuild our homes, our businesses. It took us 10 long years to pay off that loan, but it was worth it. There are two lovely ladies on this stage who will explain to you how this legacy project came to be and who the artists are that are part of this tornado legacy. I present to you Judith Veresuk from the Regina Downtown Business Improvement District and Audrey Price from the Regina Warehouse District.
Thank you, Mayor McCara. This legacy project was conceived as a partnership between our two organizations as a means to commemorate the efforts you and your fellow citizens made in 1912 to rebuild our community. And you can see by looking around you that our city continues to grow. Our downtown has changed a lot since your time. To everyone who came, on behalf of the Regina Downtown Business Improvement District, the Warehouse Business Improvement District, and the Regina Tornado Legacy Group, I welcome you all to Regina Tornado Legacy Day.
The artists contributing to this legacy project were selected by a jury comprised of representatives from the Dunlop Art Gallery, the Mackenzie Art Gallery, Neutral Ground, and Carfax, Saskatchewan. The works we're showcasing today include a large mural that was installed on Lorne Street at 1860 Lorne on the north side of the building, and it's by Moose Jaw artist Grant McLaughlin. Grant, just give a wave.
Another artist who is here today is Jesse McDonald, who has created the beautiful sculpture called Ghost, and that's been installed in your district, Audrey, at the Regina Centre Crossing Building, at what we call the old Superstore at Albert and 9th.
That's right, Judith, and we hope everyone will join us there this afternoon for a bit of an old-time party. There's going to be an antique car show, a barbecue, live music. There are going to be tours of the historic warehouse district on a horse and wagon. And there's also a display of photographs of the tornado that have been put together by our partner, the Regina Plains Museum. We also hope that you'll visit the tents on either side of the stage and talk to the authors who have written books about the Regina tornado, including Sandra Bingaman, who wrote Storm of the Century, and I'm sure a number of you have seen that, as well as Penny Draper, who wrote a children's book called Day of the Cyclone.
We hope you will all take in the tour, whether you're walking, riding, biking, skateboarding, or taking the bus that we have arranged. There are tour booklets in the tent at either tent right beside us, and you are welcome to make your way along the tour path and end up at Regina Center Crossing for today's party. In the coming months, we will be installing additional works of art along the path of the tornado, both in Regina's downtown and warehouse districts, including a series of artworks that are being created by the team at Silver Fox 3D Studios, including Emerson Ziffel, Laurel Kirby, and Brian Kirby, who should be here today. There they are, right over there. Some of these panels are on display today in the churches along the tour path, including the First Baptist, the Knox Met, and St. Paul's at McIntyre and 12th.
Other artists whose work will be installed in the next few weeks include Rob Boss, whose work Tornado Scribble will be installed on the south wall of the Cornwall Parkade just behind us, and Lionel Pechu, whose sculpture entitled Red Line will be installed in a new park that's being created at Broad Street and 8th Avenue in the Warehouse District.
In addition, murals will be created on the Albert Street underpass this September as part of our Culture Days programming by artist Charmaine Hewson, with assistance from the youth involved in the programming of North Central Community Association.
These artistic installations were made possible because of a partnership between the Regina Downtown Business Improvement District and the Warehouse Business Improvement District, but by the generous support of our funding agencies. The Community Initiative Funds allowed us to present the first of the artists because of a contribution in the form of a $50,000 grant. The Centennial Legacy Fund from Canadian Heritage also partnered with us with a $1,000 grant. And some of the funding activities for today's events are compliments of the City of Regina because they funded us for a special event program.
So hopefully we can wrap up pretty soon. It's kind of hot and we can get on with the program, but I would like to thank the staff of Regina Downtown. They've worked tremendously hard helping us pull this together. I'd also like to thank the Warehouse District staff as well. They've done a wonderful job helping pull together what's going on at Regina Center Crossing.
We'd also like to thank our project coordinator, which is Marion Donnelly. You've seen her walking around in the straw hat. And Jenny Avram and Jackie Schmidt of Avram Events, who helped put this day on. We also want to make a special thank you to a tour guide who's going to be leading people on a bus that will go over to the Warehouse District, and that's Gord Goddard. He's, right there. And Jan Moore, who will also be assisting him on the bus.
And with that, please help us welcome the representative from the province of Saskatchewan, who, through the Community Initiatives Fund, have contributed to the establishment of this legacy project. Mr. Joe Ralco.
Thank you, Judith. I appreciate the opportunity of representing the Community Initiatives Fund today and the invitation to attend and participate in this remarkable historic event. The CIF exists to support non-profit community-based organizations, which, as you and I know, are the backbone of Saskatchewan. Last year, the Community Initiatives Fund provided 634 grants totaling $12.2 million to organizations across the province. As the only Regina member of the Community Initiatives Fund Board of Directors, I'm proud to say that this project we are celebrating today was among 60 approved for the City of Regina. Recognizing that this historic event has in some way touched us all, and that this event be commemorated despite being coined the deadliest tornado in Canadian history, is both valuable and thought-provoking. Of value, as we are invited to consider the tenacity and resilience of past residents as they persevered, determined to overcome the dire straits of this natural disaster. Thought-provoking, as we realize that some things just don't change. An entire century ago and today, community spirit and volunteer efforts remain at the core, at the helm of assisting others. In 1912, many volunteers helped rebuild and rejuvenate this city, helped the injured and comforted those in loss, offered shelter and food to the newly homeless, and even held lanterns for workers until power was restored to the city. And today, in perhaps less dramatic settings, Saskatchewan community people work together in volunteer efforts to make our communities a better place to live and work, and to enhance the quality of life for all of the residents. This legacy of recognition and artwork that helps commemorate the humanity and charitable actions of this historic event is indeed a tribute to Regina and to all Saskatchewan communities, both then and now. The work of the Community Initiatives Fund, through our programming, our support of charities and nonprofits, and volunteering throughout Saskatchewan, and for celebrating the pride of community and place, this work is exemplified here today. Thank you again for inviting the Community Initiatives Fund to be recognized and participate in this event. I'm honored to be here. And now I am honoured to introduce a current member of City Council, one who has long served this fair city well, Mr. Fred Clipsham.
Well, good morning everyone. Isn't this a great day? It's just a wonderful Canada Day weekend. It's a real honour to be here on behalf of my colleagues on City Council and Mayor Fiacco. I know Councillor Fougere is here today. Are there any other councillors in the crowd I haven't seen? And I can also introduce Ralph Goodale, our Member of Parliament, one of our members of Parliament. Isn't this plaza great? I mean, it's just a wonderful place to come and gather and enjoy community-spirited events like this. I'd also like to recognize the members of the Municipal Heritage Advisory Committee, some of whom you'll be meeting when we do the unveiling of the memorial over there. It's a committee on council that advises us on preservation, interpretation, development, and designation of heritage buildings and cultural properties in the city. I'd like to add my thanks to Marion and Judith and the work that you've done together with the city staff, as well as Judith and the Regina Downtown people, and Audrey and all the folks on the board at the Warehouse District. So it's just a great partnership that's brought us a whole couple of days of events. So we're here for a very important reason, to remember what happened on this day 100 years ago, and to honor those who lost their lives and those who worked so very hard to carry on. If we try and imagine Regina 100 years ago, there would be people and their families out enjoying the day, preparing for what they called Dominion. We call it Dominion Day, we call it Canada Day now, but they were preparing for celebrate events in the park here. And as we heard from the mayor, McCara, Regina was coming into its own, about 30,000 population. And as the mayor said, he was very proud, and I am very proud today, of Regina. The mayor was showing off our young city to dignitaries from the Grand Trunk Railway, and there was the 4 streetcars that had been put into service, showing that Regina was modern and up to date. The water and sewer system had been installed. The legislative buildings was almost complete. And this 1912, this very park was a civic gathering place that had been designed by a well-known architect. And it's impossible, I think, impossible to imagine the horror of the residents and people who were working in the 3-block area, the swath that the tornado carved between the legislative buildings and over into the Warehouse District and north of the city. It took 3 minutes to destroy that landscape, the buildings, 28 lives, countless injured. But now, try and imagine the resolve and the determination of the people who began to help, who saved lives, who rebuilt this community. We've got the Boy Scouts with us today. As you heard, 100 years ago, they lost the beloved Scoutmaster, that's right. They lost a beloved scoutmaster in the tornado, but even without their leader, they took on the job of helping save lives. And it's those young men that became the leaders of the community in the future. And for this reason, the Scouts are part of our honor guard today. So, as part of this commemorative event, on behalf of all of us, I honor those who lost their lives, their families, and those who helped in whatever way they could to rebuild our city. And I dare say, I believe we are still the kind of resilient people, ready to do what we need to ensure Regina flourishes. That's our motto, you know, Floreat Regina. Let Regina flourish. So I now ask you to join us. The Scouts will be leading us. We're going to walk south of the cenotaph to unveil a cairn to commemorate this event in our city's history. And from there, the tours will start. Tours of churches and the art installations. And so why don't we get the Boy Scouts in line here, and we'll come down and join you, and please follow us across the park.
It passed over the legislative building in Wascana Lake and then damaged or destroyed most of the homes along Lauren and Smith Street. 3 churches and a number of public buildings adjacent to Victoria Park where we're standing now. North of the Canadian Pacific Railway Yard, it left smashed warehouses and working-class homes in its wake. The 1912 tornado caused $1.2 million worth of property damage, claimed 28 lives, left hundreds injured, and rendered 2,500 Reginans temporarily homeless at a time when the city's population was some 30,000 people.
After you've had a chance to look at the plaques, then just feel free to make your way to the First Baptist Church. Knox Metropolitan Church has their doors open on Victoria, and at 11:30 they'll be doing tours of the bell tower. We also have a small bus for people who are not able to walk to do the rest of the tour. But we encourage you to walk or skateboard or ride your bike if you can do that.
And if you wish, I think the tour guides might take you up into the tower, but it's quite a steep climb up a ladder to get there. But they'll show them to you. The bells here come from England, and they are fixed bells. The bells don't move, just the clapper moves. So when they pull the rope, it pulls the clapper and it hits and they go down, and they hit them, yes. And by tradition, whenever they start ringing bells, they have to do a change down and do the scales like you hear now, and then they'll start playing tunes. There are a series of 12 ropes set in a circle, and you can either, if you're a beginner, you can either just have one rope that you pull when it's your turn, but the good bell ringers who've been doing it for a long time can stand in the middle and play the whole 12 ropes themselves. You have to be very agile. But I've been up there and I've played, and it's fun. You have to they have charts. When they don't have the music, they have the numbers of the bells, because each bell has a number. And so you look for your number, and when you see it come along, you ring your bell. So yeah, it's good. So there's a list about bell ringers. There's some books here which were written for the 100th anniversary of the church, and they document the history of the church, the early days. Knox met. No, it's the man. Okay. Originally, there were 2 churches: Knox Presbyterian Church, and this one was Metropolitan Methodist Church. And then and they were both damaged during the cyclone, because the other one was further down on Lawn Street, on the corner of Lawn and 12th, and they were both rebuilt. But when the churches combined to form the United Church, it was decided to move the congregation here and to the United Church here, United Congregation here, and they sold off the Knox Presbyterian Church. That was demolished, and the Sastel building was built on the premises. And This was the Knox Presbyterian Church, which is no more, unfortunately. I mean, it's always a shame when nice landmarks disappear. And I don't know where it's around here. Oh my goodness me. Yes, there's a lot of history in the church, in this book, about both churches. And there's copies on the table, and if you'd like to take a copy, you are very welcome. All we ask is just a small donation to the church for the cost of the publishing that we have. Up in the church you'll find a wonderful organ, which was also a gift to the church by Miss Isabel Willoughby, and it was just splendid, one of the finest organs in Western Canada, and we've had some very fine organists come through to play on it. I'm not sure if anybody will be playing on it when you go through.
There is somebody on it.
Oh, Bev, you're here.
Yeah,
Good. Here's what I told
take everybody at once. I can take about 8 people.
Okay.
Once
We
we
have
have
some
the
people.
benches for first year. Somebody else will think.
Okay, right. Okay,
Then
observation. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. Come on, we have
Once we
two
have
more.
the benches for